President Biden, how involved were you in your son's Chinese shakedown text message? Were you sitting there? Were you involved? Were you involved?
Thank you so much. Everyone's heading out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everyone, we need to move out now. It's time to.
That was President Biden laughing off questions about his recent scandals. First, about those WhatsApp messages, putting him in the room with son Hunter while he was speaking to a CCP-linked businessman. And then the bag of cocaine that we've been talking about found inside the White House this week. Joe, the president, his silence, his laughing. Remember when he turned to the camera and he said, regarding the money, the Hunter Biden money, and he said, find the money, but right. It was like antagonistic. This is how he shakes it off. But is that going to work in an election year? I'm
old enough to remember where he said he never spoke to his son about his son's business dealings.
Like
now we literally have evidence of it happening in the room. The problem is you have his allies in the media, and there are many, who simply will not cover these scandals or this story, always using the guise of Trump and his legal problems as the pivot instead. You asked me, will this hurt him? New York Times did a focus group a couple of weeks ago, and they interviewed 10 Biden voters from 2020. And they asked a series of questions. Do you think that he is a serious leader? No. Do you think that he should run for president again in 2024? No. Are you comfortable with him in his mid-80s being in the Oval Office if he wins re-election? All emphatically answered no. Do you think he's a strong leader? No. Who are you voting for in 2024? All 10 answered Biden. So I don't know what sticks at this point when we know that he's clearly probably compromised and he has these scandals that are building up. And obviously, we talked about his performance on the economy. We see what's happening in American cities on crime. We see what's happening at the border in terms of immigration. We see what's happening in education with ACT test scores being at a 30-year low. I could go on and on in terms of he's underwater on every topic. Yeah. Yet people seem to be voting against a candidate in this country more these days, particularly if it's Donald Trump, than for a candidate in Joe Biden. Does that make sense?
That's partially what happened last time. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. But Krysia, I want to come to you on this because when you talk about his mental fitness, his stamina, these are things that are important for a president. And he's shown that he's weak in many areas. We've seen so many, examples of him tripping, not being able to find the words, all these things. You've got Gavin Newsom now out sort of as a surrogate for him, putting the messaging out there. Can this work? Can that kind of combination work? He's out of the basement, but he's got somebody else as his mouthpiece.
I mean, some might even say that was the situation in the last election cycle. He was, on the campaign trail in his basement. So again, it's still much as the same in this time around. But I agree with your point, Joe, in that I think he will get some coverage not only from the media, but from big tech. We've seen this time and time again. And he's also getting coverage from KJP in that she's deflecting to using the Hatch Act as well when it comes to his mental acuity. Any scandal that comes out about Hunter Biden is a Joe Biden scandal as well. Unfortunately, we know that this information will be suppressed and, again, laughed off. This is just completely deflection. The voter, I'm praying, will be smarter this time around, but it's unclear at this particular time.
But last time around, too, remember, they were controlling the narrative on social media. And now you've got this crucial ruling, at least with a temporary injunction, saying this White House cannot go and talk to social media companies to censor conservatives. It cannot take down stories. It cannot tell you that the Hunter Biden laptop story is not true, which we later found out was true. I mean, these are things that had an impact on the election, and that is something that no longer can happen. So I think it will be interesting.
And Elon Musk owns Twitter now. It's not under Jack Dorsey, so there's not going to be as much coercion.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Something like that.
Coming up.